Hey, good evening, everybody. We're still working on the microphone issue, so if you hear any Darth Vader stuff going on, just leave a message in chat, and I check things out, and so far I think our audio is okay. So we're going to press on and head into our current weather. All right, there's our weather pattern this evening. And what we see here is a large high-pressure area covering much of the United States east of the Rockies. And this is an old polar high that came out of Canada a couple of days ago. And there's that high that we're talking about right there. And then we can see lined up to the north, some Alberta clippers. So the first one coming out of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and the second one gearing up there in the Northwest Territories. Elsewhere around the country, not a whole lot going on. Pretty quiet in the Intermountain region. And we see the old front from last Saturday still hanging out along the Mexican coast. Taking a look at the surface data, here's the plots at this time, and we see a very stout easterly flow becoming southerly in the Central Plains. And I'm going to draw that streamline for you. There we go. And you can see the south flow coming up through Kansas, Nebraska. Meanwhile, in Texas, we still got a little bit of a northerly component to that flow right there, and that's kind of a consequence of all that cold air that's been piling up in that area. One way we can visualize the temperature regimes is with potential temperature. It's very much similar to isotherms, and you'll see here when I put these plots up. And there we go. This is actually depicting that chunk of cold air across Texas. And let me draw out the axis. It extends from about Illinois, where it's fairly mild this evening, and then it extends down through Texas and down to the Big Bend area. So on either side of it, we've got warm air down in the Gulf Coast region, and in the Rocky Mountain region, also some warm air. So I'll put W to indicate that there. So that's pretty much a tongue of cold air that's just anchored down in the southern plains, and it's gradually in the process of eroding. Up to the north, we've got a little bit of a Chinook pattern going on, and you can see the westerly component to the winds right in this area from northern Colorado on up to Wyoming and Montana. And let me replot the data here, and you can see 72 there at Billings, Montana. Even 71 up near the border with Alberta. So that's some impressive downslope air, and we've been seeing a lot of that going on up and down the northern Rockies over the past couple days or so. All right, let me check in on chat, and feel free to let me now know how the audio sounds. I'm sure some of you have probably been wondering about that Darth Vader stuff, and this gets into the switchboard here. I'm trying to get some of the devices working. You can see I've got WDM, KS, MME. Those are different audio encoding types, and I've got to set the buffers up for that, and it's just kind of a lot of headache there, but eventually I think we'll get there and get that cleared up. Let's see, we got David Lumbert up there in the Little Rock area. 64 over 42. Mark reporting 38 over 17 in New Hampshire. JT in northern Illinois reporting 57 over 35 with a light southwest wind. A few gusts up to 21 there. Burl H is joining us, and Fun with Tech. Scott Inderlead 55 over 51 there in the northeast snow capital. Oh, okay. Be a little bit different there. Adam Davis seeing the effects of high pressure, sun and chilly there in Indianapolis. Erica Baker there in southeast Kansas, 59 over 41. Willie Greenway in Georgia is with us, and Cthulhu and JT reporting a good audio stream. So we will head back into the charts. Worth noting is Mexico. we don't often look at data down there, and certainly the U.S. media doesn't pay any attention to what goes on in that area. You get a lot of cold winter systems that affect their weather in unusual ways. So, for an example, you can see over the Gulf here, see that easterly flow. If you're out about 80, very humid conditions, 73-degree dew point in that easterly wind. And you contrast that with inland in the Rio Grande Valley, 60 with a northwest wind and overcast skies. So lying in between a front. So in the northern periphery, it looks like the front is running something like that, probably quasi-stationary there. And then as you go south, well, on the coast, and then when you get into the Bay of Campeche area, strong north wind, and that's a little bit on the chilly side, and you can see sustained 25 knots. So that's that cold air that's just kind of blasting through the mountain passes in that region. So if we were to actually put all that together, looks like the front's probably looking something like that right there. It's just kind of like a big pool of cold air sitting over northeast Mexico. So depending on where you are relative to the low-level flow, you may be getting some isentropic lift with that. Certainly in South Texas, there's probably some easterly flow aloft there, so you get that overrunning in this area with rain. Out in this region, maybe a little bit more like a catafront, but we would have to look at more data to know that for sure. All right, let's go into the rest of the charts. We haven't even started on the central charts, so let me get that all set up here. There's the NHC forecast, looking pretty quiet out there in the Atlantic, and this is actually the 5-day outlook now out in the Atlantic. Eastern North Pacific, a little bit quiet, but a couple of systems going up the coast around the Acapulco area, and this tropical cyclone is going to get going in the next few days, and we should see that turn inland and bring a lot of rain and showers into the southern border areas. SPC also reporting quiet conditions this evening. A few general thunderstorm areas kind of along the outlines of that old front. And let's go to the upper level chart. This is up 250 millibars, 34,000 feet, and we see a split flow pattern. Very strong jet up in Canada coming down into the northeastern U.S., and then the southerly branch coming up from Baja California into the central U.S. and out towards the Appalachians. Out over the Intermountain region, upper level low. We've been following that for a couple days. It's basically just a cutoff low south of the main polar front jet. And from what I saw on the GFS when we were going over that a couple nights ago, we were expecting that to open up and pull northeast there. So Texas is under some of this upper level ridging. However, with this stout southwesterly flow, that's the Pineapple Express there, and when you have that southwesterly flow dome, which we have in this area, that's going to mean a lot of lift. All right, thickness and isobars coming up here shortly. Give me just a second here, waiting for the browser to wake up, which it will do shortly. And let me go over to chat here. Ryan Toomey's reporting Event Horizon, talking about snow there in parts of Mexico. And they did get a little bit of that in the Chihuahua area last year. One of these systems went pretty far south in that area. Adam Davis, entertained by the drop in the pitch. Yeah, it does kind of break up the monotony, certainly. Pataniki, Patagonia, Arizona, excellent weather. Let's see if the browser woke up. And looks to me like we have a lockup. So Let me see if I can get that back. Okay. I think we're done for there in Firefox. So that same problem we had a couple weeks ago is back with us. Well, okay. So I guess this will be a short one tonight. Let me see if there's anything else we can look at in digital atmosphere. I did have kind of a close-up look at that cold air mass across Texas. Let me get my windows set right there. And yeah, that's where we can see that northerly flow in Texas and a little bit of rain there in the San Antonio area. And as we go into the panhandles, that's where we pick up a little bit of upslope. And there also we have some of the southwesterly flow working over that cold dome. So let's bring up the potential temperatures and see if we can find the edges of the front. And it really does get challenging out in the Rocky Mountain region. So you see here in Phoenix, they've got 79 degrees with a northeast wind, and the temperature drops as you go out towards Globe, Deming, and Las Cruces, down to the 50s there, and you can see that easterly wind in that region right there. That's going to be a good sign that you're back behind the front. So the front is going to be somewhere in this area right here. So just going by what we see here, probably the edge of the front is running something like that right there. Maybe even a little bit further west. And so back behind the front, there's that easterly flow, bringing overcast and rain to parts of New Mexico. And then the other tail end of the I guess that's probably about as far as that goes. Let's see, 50, 57, 59. Yeah, there might be a kind of a weak tail end of the front through that area. That could also be an occlusion, depending on what's going on in this area right here. So this is what we see a lot in the cold season, these cold domes, especially when they're deep and moving to the southwest. They tend to get kind of trapped in this area. It's kind of a form of cold air damming in Texas and New Mexico. The air gets kind of trapped between the lower elevations in this region and the higher terrain in Mexico. And it takes a while for that to clear out, and that's kind of what's going on. And usually it does end up clearing out for good once we get the deep southerly flow in place, and that rapidly tends to clear that out. All right, let's see here. Just take one last look at. Let me go to Task Manager, see if I can get anything going here. And I think we are locked up cold, but you know, there's not quite a whole lot going on tonight. So I guess maybe 15 minutes is probably good for tonight. Maybe we need to restart the computer or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that's probably about all I got for tonight. So I'll go ahead and let you guys go. So take care and have a good evening. And we will see you on Sunday. And that's not our closing theme. This is. All right. Thanks all. Good night and have a good evening. Bye-bye.